The thing that really stands out is not how great of basketball players they were, but how smart they were out on the floor.
Because individually, he's the best individual basketball player from top to bottom.
Well, defensively.
Well, I hate him. I was sort of like, jealous of him because he was a regular guy that did everything. And I thought most of what he did was luck. But as I, got older and kept watching, I just knew that it was skill.
When it comes to the greatest basketball players of all time, two names live on a tier of their own: Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. One was built like a god, flying through the air, breaking souls and stealing hearts with every clutch shot. The other, a trash-talking, sharp-shooting, blue-collar genius who didn't just beat you, he outsmarted you. So here's the question that splits generations: locker rooms and barbershops. If you could choose one, who are you picking? Jordan might be the obvious choice for some. 6 rings, undefeated in the finals, the most competitive athlete maybe ever. But ask the legends who actually went toe-to-toe with both, and you'll start hearing a different story. Because Bird wasn't flashy, but he was lethal. He didn't have to jump over you. He just had to outthink you. And most of the time, he did. So would you go with the stone-cold assassin with the killer instinct, or the cerebral sniper who could control every inch of the floor? We're diving into what NBA legends actually say, unfiltered, unscripted, and straight from the court. Jordan or Bird? The answer might just surprise you. Charles Barkley has never been one to hold back his opinions, especially when it comes to greatness. He's battled both Larry Bird and Michael Jordan during their primes, and he's praised both with equal honesty. Barkley always admired Bird's toughness, how he played with zero fear, outsmarted everyone, and didn't care who was in front of him. Bird could control a game with just his mind and that quick release. And when Barkley talks about how hard it was to guard Bird, there's no doubt that respect runs deep. But when the question comes up, who would you take, Bird or Jordan? Barkley doesn't hesitate.
To me, it's Michael, for 2 reasons. Number one, he won more championships, so I give him that. But look at who they played with. Bird played with the greatest front line ever, 2 other Hall of Famers, played with Dennis Johnson, another Hall of Famer. Michael had Scotty the first time, they still won 3. Next time, they had another Hall of Famer in Dennis Rodman, but when he had one Hall of Famer, he won 3. And then when he got Dennis Rodman, they won another 3. And I think people forget, he retired in his prime the first time. They probably would have won 2 more championships. His numbers are so much better than those other guys. Those other guys are great, don't get me wrong. But Michael, it just was an honor and pleasure to play against him.
Once he lays it out, though, the answer becomes clear. For Barkley, it comes down to dominance. Jordan didn't just win. He owned the game. The championships, the MVPs, the 2 three-peats, the global impact. MJ was in a league of his own. Barkley talks about how players around the league reacted to Jordan differently. There was a fear, a sense of helplessness, even among stars. Bird made you compete. Jordan made you hope you survived. And that's why Charles puts MJ at the top. Shaquille O'Neal is no stranger to greatness. He's played with and against the best to ever step on the court, and he's always given credit where it's due. Jordan gets plenty of that. Shaq respected MJ's killer instinct, his ability to take over games, and the fear he put into opponents. But when Shaq starts talking about Larry Bird, there's a different kind of tone, almost like he's describing something unreal. For Shaq, Bird was special because of how effortless he made the game look. He wasn't fast, he wasn't flashy, but he did everything with precision. Bird could pass like a point guard, shoot the lights out, rebound in traffic, and talk trash with the best of them, and then back it up. Shaq loves skill, and Bird had it in ways most players couldn't even dream of.
I actually used to hate Larry Bird. I hated him. Because,
Well, why?
Because I hated him. I was sort of like, jealous of him because he was a regular guy that did everything. He shot it in your face, he had to fade away. One time, I was watching a game, they was playing somebody, and I was betting this guy, and he was falling out of bounds, and he shot that thing over the backboard and it went in. I was like, I thought most of what he did was luck, but as I, got older and kept watching, I just knew that it was skill. And, for him to even have his name mentioned in this category with Magic and Michael Jordan just shows how great of a player he was.
In the end, Shaq picked Larry Bird, not because he didn't respect Jordan, but because Bird had that raw, fundamental talent that made him impossible to guard. He didn't need to out-jump you, he just needed half a second. For Shaq, Bird's mix of IQ, confidence, and skill made him the ultimate weapon. Despite not looking the part, Bird did everything for not just the team, but the game of basketball, making him deserving to be hailed a great of this game for generations to come. Steve Kerr had a front row seat to greatness. As a teammate of Michael Jordan during the Bulls' second three-peat, Kerr witnessed what it truly meant to compete at the highest level every single day. While he's always spoken highly of Larry Bird's incredible basketball mind and toughness, the experience of sharing the court and locker room with Jordan gave him a different perspective. What separated Jordan in Kerr's eyes wasn't just talent, it was the relentless edge. Jordan treated practice like Game 7. He'd challenge teammates, get under their skin, and hold them accountable in ways that weren't always comfortable. But it wasn't about ego. It was about winning at all costs. Kerr knew every time Jordan stepped on the floor, he wasn't just trying to win, he was trying to dominate you mentally and physically.
I think just the will to win and the way that manifested itself in practice. I mean, every day was a battle. It really was. Whether it was a scrimmage, shooting drill, didn't matter. He wanted to win so badly, and that established the entire culture for the team. I mean, here's the greatest, most talented player on earth who's working harder than anybody. So if that doesn't kind of establish who you are, as an identity, as a team, I don't know what does.
When Kerr compares Bird and Jordan, he doesn't dismiss Bird's greatness. Far from it. He knows Bird could kill you with his mind and skill alone. But when it comes to choosing one, Kerr points to the fire. Jordan's obsession with winning, his refusal to lose, and his willingness to push everyone, including himself, to the limit. Kerr didn't just respect Jordan, he trusted him. And that, more than stats or awards, is what makes MJ his pick. Isaiah Thomas played against the toughest competitors of his era. But when the conversation turns to pure, unstoppable skill, he always brings up one name: Larry Bird. For Isaiah, what separated Bird from everyone else wasn't just the trash talk, the toughness, or the IQ. It was his shooting. Bird didn't just have a good jumper. He had a jumper that could break your spirit. Mid-range, three-point line, fadeaway, off balance, it didn't matter. If Bird got into rhythm, it was over.
I mean, his shot was just so perfect. I mean, he was a killer. I mean, just a straight killer. And, again, you've heard me mention and talk about the Celtics a lot. They taught us a lot of great lessons. He definitely talked a lot of trash, but at the same time, he was backing it up. And during that period of time, all of us in the summer, I don't know if there was an NBA player who didn't try to shoot or imitate Larry Bird's shot in some way, shape, or form, because it was so pretty and it was just so, he was great.
Isaiah believed Bird was the greatest because no one combined shooting and confidence like he did. He didn't shoot to score, he shot to punish. You could have a hand in his face, perfect defense, and he'd still knock it down without hesitation. And once he hit one, the next 5 were coming. Isaiah saw it up close, the way Bird's jumper dictated the game, forced defenders to panic, and shifted momentum in seconds. To him, it wasn't just skill, it was a weapon. And that's why Isaiah doesn't hesitate when naming the greatest. In his eyes, Larry Bird's pure shooting made him untouchable. Steve Smith played against Michael Jordan in his prime and saw firsthand what made him a global icon: the athleticism, the intensity, the killer mentality. He's never taken anything away from that. Jordan was a force. But when Steve reflects on the players who impressed him the most, the one who sticks in his mind isn't always the most obvious. It's Larry Bird. And when asked to choose between the two, Smith gives the edge to Bird, and for good reason.
But just to talk about Larry, for me to see the guy who can shoot the basketball, but then also be able to change his game up, but to do whatever he had to do to win. You know, kind of like Magic, kind of like Michael, but, you know, I was impressed for a guy with his athletic ability, which was not a lot, to be able to rebound the basketball, to really take the fundamentals of the game and take it to another level. I mean, everything fundamentally, if you watch Larry Bird, he did at a top level.
For Steve, it's about how Bird controlled the game. He didn't rely on speed or explosiveness. He relied on his brain, his instincts, and his skill. Smith always admired how Bird could take over without having to be the fastest or the strongest. He was a thinker, a leader, and one of the most fearless competitors Smith ever saw. Bird talked trash, backed it up, and made his teammates better. In Steve's eyes, Bird represented the ultimate competitor, someone who could outplay anyone, no matter the matchup. Jordan might have been the most dominant, but Bird was the most complete. And that's why Steve Smith picks Larry. Reggie Miller was never afraid of the moment. He thrived in big games, lived for the crowd noise, and went toe-to-toe with legends without blinking. He battled Larry Bird early in his career and always gave him his flowers, calling him one of the smartest, most ruthless players he ever faced. Reggie loved Bird's edge, his confidence, and the way he played the game with his mind as much as his shot. But even with all that respect, when it came down to picking one legend, Reggie made his choice clear.
To me, if I'm starting a team, it's Michael Jordan. Just for the simple side, and Smitty can attest to this, we had to guard him, 35 to 40 minutes a game. And he was the Shaq of shooting guards, because there's no way you were going to move him off the post. He was cat quick, and on top of that, he was going to embarrass you in front of your family and friends. So having said all that, if I'm starting a franchise, not only do I want to put people in the seats, because Michael will do that, but his skill level was so far ahead of everyone else, I'm going with MJ.
Reggie faced Jordan at his peak, and he felt the difference. Bird could break you down, but Jordan could bury you. There was a different energy when MJ was in the building. Reggie said it felt like everything had to be perfect just to keep up. Jordan's footwork, strength, intensity, he didn't just play the game, he controlled it. Even Reggie, one of the most confident shooters ever, admitted MJ was just operating at a different level. For Reggie, Bird was all-time great, but Jordan was something else entirely, and that's why he's the pick. Kenny Smith didn't just analyze greatness, he experienced it firsthand. As a point guard in the 80s and 90s, he went head-to-head with both Larry Bird and Michael Jordan. He saw Bird's brilliance up close, the way he moved without the ball, manipulated defenders, and broke teams down with nothing but timing and touch. Kenny respected that. Bird could dominate a game without even saying a word, and if you weren't focused every second, he'd make you pay. But when Kenny talks about facing Jordan, there's a shift in his tone, and his decision becomes clear.
You'd have to go with Michael. One, because he's gonna have people want to watch him as well. To me, that's why it's a hard choice, because Michael was a player that everyone wanted to watch, even players. And I think, but Magic and Bird may be the guys that people want to play with more. I said Michael, though. I'll take Michael. Because individually, he's the best individual basketball player.
What made Jordan different, according to Kenny, wasn't just skill, it was presence. He said players weren't just trying to beat Jordan, they were surviving the experience. The energy changed when he entered the arena. Even elite defenders and seasoned pros couldn't hide the way they looked at him, with awe, respect, and sometimes fear. Kenny saw it firsthand. Guys who never got nervous, suddenly overthinking everything. Jordan didn't just play basketball, he owned the moment. And that, more than anything, is why Kenny makes his choice clear. Bird was brilliant, but Jordan, he made legends feel like fans. Michael Cooper was the Lakers' defensive ace in the 1980s, a lockdown specialist trusted to guard the best scorers in the league. He faced both Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, and he gave each of them problems. But when Cooper talks about the toughest assignment of his career, he doesn't hesitate. It was Larry Bird. No one gave him more trouble. Not because Bird was faster or stronger, but because he was relentless, unpredictable, and absolutely fearless.
You know what? One of the things, and we all know this, playing against your peers, you always want to be respected.
Right.
And he was one of the best. I never tried to hurt him or anything like that. Like, you know, Detroit had the Jordan rules and Philadelphia, and I just tried to play Larry head up and just play him as honest as I could, because the great ones, you're not going to affect them with that to come. You know, the one thing that I've always recognized about great offensive players is there are spots on the court that they shoot the ball well from. And George Gervin told me, he said, "Coop, listen, if I get to my spot, ain't shit you can do with me." So in thinking like that, my job was just to keep him off that spot. And Larry, that's what I tried to do with him. But, you know, people ask me all the time, who's the hardest player? And I always say him, because I played against Michael Jordan, George Gervin, Andrew Toney. And those guys, when they pass the ball, they have a tendency to take a break for a second. Larry never was going to take a break.
Cooper always respected Jordan's athletic gifts and killer mindset, but Bird forced him to think every second. He'd fake left, spin right, use the glass, or pull up out of nowhere, never doing the same thing twice. And the whole time, he was talking, telling you exactly what was coming, and still hitting the shot. For a defender like Cooper, that mental battle was draining. Bird didn't just score, he dissected you. And that's why, when asked who he'd take, Cooper goes with Bird, because to him, being the hardest to guard means something. And no one made him work harder, think deeper, or doubt himself more than Larry Bird. Wilt Chamberlain was a giant in every sense, on the court, in the record books, and in basketball history. And while he came from an entirely different generation than Michael Jordan, that didn't stop him from recognizing true greatness when he saw it. For Wilt, talent and dominance were everything. He respected players who didn't just win, but overwhelmed the game. And that's why, in his later years, he often pointed to one man as the greatest he had ever seen: Michael Jordan.
And is a gifted athlete who is using those gifts in basketball incredibly so. He has been the liaison between something that's not so good and making it great for all the rest. I think that almost every man in the NBA should give him 10% of their checks.
Wilt believed Jordan had something special, something that would have translated in any decade. The strength, the skill, the balance between scoring and defense. It was all there. He admired how Jordan wasn't just a scorer, but also one of the league's best defenders. To Wilt, that complete package was rare. More than anything, he respected how Jordan carried himself. He was ruthless, focused, and obsessed with winning. Wilt had seen a lot of greats come and go, but in MJ, he saw someone who would have thrived no matter the rules, the pace, or the competition. For Wilt, Jordan wasn't just the best of his time. He was the best of all time. Julius Erving, Dr. J, was the blueprint for style, grace, and power in the air. He inspired an entire generation of players, including Michael Jordan himself. But what's special about Irving's perspective is that he saw Jordan before the championships, before the dynasty, before the legend fully formed. And he already knew. From the first time he saw MJ play, Dr. J recognized that something different was coming. The way Jordan moved, attacked, and approached the game. It wasn't just potential, it was a preview of dominance.
I remember he came down and he dunked on like our whole team. And then I went down and dunked on his team. Whatever. I was looking at him, he was looking at me, and he was like, "I could do it again," you know. I said, "All right, well, I only get one shot at it. You know, I made it." So,
Right.
but it was fun, and you know, those years when we overlapped, I caught him before he really hit his stride. I mean, I always liked him, and I always felt that he had a lot of respect, and he had a lot of admiration, and, you know, he was going to carry the torch.
Yeah.
And he certainly desired to do it. Did a hell of a job.
As Jordan's career exploded, Irving wasn't surprised. He had seen the signs, how Jordan combined insane athleticism with precision, focus, and a level of competitiveness that couldn't be taught. Dr. J respected Bird, Magic, all the greats. But when asked to pick one, he goes with Jordan, because he didn't just witness greatness, he foresaw it. To Irving, Jordan wasn't just the future of the game. He became the standard everyone else was judged by. And when the guy who inspired MJ calls him the greatest ever, that says everything. In the end, the debate between Michael Jordan and Larry Bird goes far beyond numbers. It's not just about points, rings, or MVPs. It's about how they made other greats feel. These weren't just Hall of Famers. They were forces. For some legends, Larry Bird was the most skilled, confident, and intelligent player they ever faced. He didn't need to out-jump you, he out-thought you. His shot was pure, his mindset unshakable, and his presence unforgettable. For others, Michael Jordan was the ultimate test. He made everything harder. He played with a rage to win that made even elite players feel like they didn't belong on the same floor. The pressure he brought, the moments he owned, MJ wasn't just a player, he was an experience, and for many, that's what sets him apart. What's special is how divided the opinions are. Decades later, the respect hasn't faded. If anything, it's grown, because Bird and Jordan didn't just dominate their time, they shaped basketball forever.